Hola Masala, welcome back to another video in Masala of Cultures. So we were thinking about movies and TV series, telenovelas from both India and Colombia, and in specific, we were thinking about the concepts of love and romance and how we've seen such concepts in movies and TV shows and telenovelas throughout our childhood and how they might have influenced on how we love as individuals. Welcome to Masala of Cultures,
a show by Luisa and Ashwin.
Join us to connect and grow through differences. Today, we're going to start with a Colombian telenovela. Luisa, what is it about? What's the name? What's the whole concept of this telenovela?
Okay, so to start, I would like to say that telenovelas are a very strong part of the identity in Latin American countries. What is it in English? Soap opera?
Soap operas, TV shows, TV series, yeah.
Even when we were living in the US, our friends from Indonesia, they were watching our series that were like from decades ago.
Yeah.
And I grew up watching them, and I still watch them because it's very important to me. I remember that all our family used to get together around the TV just to watch that for 1 hour at night or 2 hours, and it's entirely family time in my memory because it's that moment to connect, to get the drama, to get a little bit of sadness, emotion, laughs, and it's definitely melodramatic as a genre itself. All telenovelas are melodramas.
I absolutely agree with you because even here, like in India, like we have so many regional TV shows, and like I just remember from my childhood that my grandma, even until today, she is so addicted to these telenovelas and like to these soap operas, TV shows, or in Tamil we call them nadagams. Nadagam just means dramas.
Dramas?
Right? Mm-hmm. Literally the perfect name. So I've seen her since childhood. Like she sits down at 6 p.m. and until 10 or 11 p.m. it just keeps going and going and going. And it's not just one single channel, but multiple. So even in, let's say, 6 to 6:30 p.m., that's like one slot. And she just switches between a couple of different channels. And if there's an advertisement in one channel, she switches to the other. So yeah, since I can remember, she's been addicted to it. And of course, it's not just limited to grandmas. And as I grew up, I saw that even my friends, while I was in school, the whole family, they sit together, just like what you said, during dinner and watch these shows together, as quality family time.
And in this case, we want to talk about one of my favorite telenovelas. It's Pasión de Gavilanes. ¿Quién es ese hombre? It was aired for the first time in 2003, but since then, in the national TV channel, they have played it so many times. And every time they show it, I watch it again. I even watched it on Netflix. They re-released a second season in 2002. 2022, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was like...
sorry. In 2022, with the same cast, but like in the future. I didn't watch that one though. The point is, we're going to talk about the 2003 one and how it has shaped my view of love. Because as I watched it so many times, I thought that it was normal what they were doing. The basic point in this novela is that three brothers have to revenge the death of their sister. And to do so, they are going to seduce three rich sisters. These sisters are daughters of the enemy.
Okay, got it.
So in order to do that, they plan and they make this scheme to make sure that they can revenge the sister.
Okay, so how do they plan to revenge?
There's so many things. Like first they go and work. They're very rich, right? And they have an hacienda, which means a state. They have a huge state, and they start working for them.
Like farm workers, estate workers.
Yeah, and they're making a house or something like that. It's a joke.
They're not workers.
They're not at all, right? And these sisters and these brothers, despite being in a vengeful situation, they actually fall in love.
Oh, okay, so now the romance part comes in.
Of course.
Okay,
But
so
still, there is this difference between being rich and being poor. At some point, they get money. I'm not going to tell from where, but they get in the same status, like social status is how you call it.
Yeah.
They get into the social status of the sisters, but still there's a lot of conflict.
And so they just get to the same status by just working in the farm.
No way.
Okay, so they do like many different things. Okay, got it.
Okay, I cannot say that because it would be a huge spoiler.
Yeah.
The point is that they get money and they get to be neighbors, and they start fighting even more and more and more.
Yeah, the main idea is to take revenge. Right? But okay, so the sisters know that they are here for revenge.
No, of course not.
Oh no, after a certain time.
After, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but by that time they've already fallen in love, both of them.
Okay, I'm missing some details because it's been a long time since I didn't watch it. But basically, yes.
Okay.
But then they get together, right? And then they have to fight a common enemy. The thing here is that normally in Colombian telenovelas, the female archetype or the female protagonist was always sexualized.
Like,
can I say that word in YouTube? You can beep. But in this telenovela, for the first time in Colombian TV shows, men were the ones sexualized.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
So these were all these tough, strong men riding horses without their t-shirts, just being shirtless.
So dramatic.
Yeah, with big muscles and oil all over their bodies. And that was prime TV, okay? That was 8 p.m., which is the main moment to watch the telenovela in Colombia. And it was a hit. Because for the first time, women in their houses had something to fantasize about.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Normally it's for men, right? Like men have this is the main character, she's so beautiful. Imagine someone like that. But for the first time in Colombian TV, it was men who were being, I would say, objectified.
Interesting. So for the first time, something, especially for prime time television, was made with women as the target.
I don't know before that. I truly don't know because I'm not an expert and I haven't watched all their telenovelas. I've watched some older ones, but most of them are around my 2000s, while I was growing up.
But this was the first thing that you can remember that became a hit that was targeted for women.
Not just targeted for women, but the men were being center of attention as something as someone handsome, as objects of desire. I keep saying objects. I'm so sorry. I'm not objectifying them.
No, that's the whole point. Look, even today, like here, you see these TV series, especially the regional language ones, they are targeted towards women because that's their biggest audience, and especially in India, like at least till last generation, most women were homemakers, so they stayed at home from the morning to night, so they didn't go out for work, but their work was taking care of the home, cooking food for the whole family, taking care of the family. So they were building the house, right? And at the end of the day, that was kind of like their leisure time. So it just makes sense that most women just sat down in front of the television and was watching these novelas. So I think after a certain point, all of these shows were targeted towards women. So, but this one, 2002, 2003, and at a time when still everyone was objectifying women and putting them in the center of attention, like even in movies and novelas and everything. So having a different approach, it's very risky, and that's interesting to know. Yeah.
Of course, the values of the moment are different from those of that time, and I grew up with that, so I kind of normalized many things they show. Because it's for both men and women, and you know how Colombians are, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's something interesting, because there is this conflict all the time going on in the relationship. So I was investigating a lot about how the archetypes work for men and women in this series, telenovela series, however you call it, right? And for example, I would say that the core message was that desire is part of love, and opposites are attracting, but that's unavoidable. What do you think? Do you think in your movies or the things that you grew up watching, do they have something similar where desire is the main topic?
Absolutely, I think that's very common, and like desire, like you see someone, you like them, and you just fall in love with them immediately. Like love at first sight is such a common theme in Indian romantic movies, especially back in the day. So, and the second point, like opposites attracting, I think that also is definitely a very big part, because in Indian movies and in Indian TV series, it's the women are always shown as nice, they care about the family, and they're very responsible, they're very educated, you know, they're just like, they have all their life figured out, they're put together. And the typical way that these movies show men are that they're irresponsible, they're crazy, they just like do every crazy thing you can imagine in their school time or college time. And so when these two opposites meet, they kind of are automatically attracted because they see something that they don't have in themselves. And also it's more like the women trying to get into the man's life and trying to make him better. You know, like at first they fall in love despite all the differences and craziness. But then to continue the love, they try to change the man. Like this is the typical one. It doesn't mean that. yeah, red flags definitely. But it doesn't mean it was the center of the theme in many or most movies. But it's just like a very common occurrence.
It's so different. It's so different, and when we experience relationship as in reality, we don't find that we grew up with the best examples in the media. For example, as I was telling you, the core message was desire, right? But also, when we talk about the female archetype, we see something different. They're very rich, but they're also very complex, because emotionally they stir up a lot of drama. Either because of jealousy or because of duties with the family. And I would say that's even similar in Indian.
I was just thinking, because it's very tempting for filmmakers to show women where they need help, they need to be saved, right? Like they are not emotionally like the most stable, or they make a lot of drama, or this may be more relevant in Colombian movies and telenovelas, whereas in Indian movies it's the men who are like that. But still, like the common thing is that the women need a savior, right? Like the woman needs a savior, and it's interesting to see that's kind of common throughout different regions, different parts of the world. Thankfully we've gone beyond that, but it like even when you see those movies or TV series today from 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago, like you've grown up with them, right? Even though you know that it's not like the right thing, you still enjoy them because that's what you're used to. And it's the same here. Like you see old movies, old series, and they kind of don't make sense in today's world, but you still have such a great connection to them because it was everything since like while you were growing up. So it's hard to take it away from your head.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have these scenes, and Ashin is going to watch these scenes, and we are going to ask a couple of questions after that. Okay? So this is the grandfather.
Okay. Okay. I mean, in the beginning, it felt like it was a serious scene, but at the end, it was just they made a mockery of the person, and everyone was laughing. So it's it's crazy. Yeah. Everyone already went behind it. So slow to react.
Okay, let's stop it here.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll find something like this in the series and shows you watch in Prime TV with kids?
Oh no! Definitely no. It's definitely a big cultural difference because Colombia is more open, so you can use certain language, you can use certain scenes more openly, but India has always been a very traditional country, and especially, I mean, we're talking about 15, 20 years ago, it was like definitely very traditional. Even today, you cannot see many unconventional scenes or dialogues in movies, and especially TV series, because movies you can have like 18 plus or those ratings, and you can stop children from entering, but prime time television, the whole country, the whole region is going to watch it, right? So it includes children and everyone. So definitely no. Yeah. So any Indian who's not accustomed to such things, when they watch this, it'll blow their minds out. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You saw this, right? Of course, there's a lot of things happening in between. But how do you think that has shaped views of love and relationships from what you know about Colombia and Colombians?
Okay, it's a great question. So there's a lot of things happening here, like you see this or these type of things, and you just think that this is the reality, like this is what love is, this is what romance is. For example, fights are inevitable between partners who love each other, and there's always going to be conflicts with the family of the partner that you want, because the mother or the father of the girl or the guy, they are never satisfied with the other partner, right? Like, so they're always going to make some trouble. So typical thing is to fight against them and like fight for your love no matter what, because desire wins at the end and the individuals matter more. So that's one thing. And then I can definitely see like how desire shapes and is of such importance in this, because you can see that they are fighting, like these two people are fighting, but at the end of the day they're so attracted to each other, they're so different to each other, so they just end up being together, right? Is that right?
Yes, that is right. And I agree with you that, for example, when it comes to fights, I think it's kind of normalized, and it's even seen as norm. Like, for example, being jealous of your partner is even seen as something natural out of a relationship. Mm-hmm. From what I have seen and experienced while living in India, I wouldn't say it's better, but it's definitely different. It's definitely different how the portrait of love gets across in the screen. I think it definitely shaped to my view of love. Because if you watch this when you're 5, 7, 10, 12, and then 19 years old and you keep seeing that, I don't think I never thought I was going to have like a man riding a horse like in the series. But somehow I kind of naturalized the fact that people will fight in the relationships, that when they fight the most, when they're so against each other, clashing so often, it's because there's some type of tension between them and they will end up together. It's not always right.
Yeah.
Having a healthy relationship is way better, and it doesn't have to be boring.
Yeah.
Because in these shows, they, of course, make very toxic things at some point, and they look very normalized for the point of stirring up the drama, right?
Of course, to dramatize everything, so to make it interesting for the viewers, they obviously have to add those elements.
But when you're a kid or you're still growing and you watch this, you think that's the normal.
Of course.
How do you think it's different for you, what you learned in a major point?
I think it's definitely the same, because as kids watching it, you don't have idea of what real love is, or what real romance, or being with someone, being married to someone, being in a relationship. Like, you don't have those ideas. So whatever you see is what you believe to be true. And unfortunately, like, you get to learn that it's not true at some point, which is fortunate at the end, because that's not how real love is, how real romance is. So at some point you have to learn how it is in real life, and maybe it helps, like, all these different generalizations, different like dramatizations kind of help us like dream in crazy ways about our future partners, or the partners that we want, right? But at the end of the day, it's definitely not as crazy or dramatic or of like any of these movies or TV series that show relationships, because real relationships can have fights, can have disagreements, can have dramatic moments, but most of the time it should just be it should be the opposite. Like, it shouldn't be always fights. Fights will be there sometimes from time to time, but it should mostly just be peaceful habits. I should have added that word. Peaceful habits that you kind of repeat day in, day out, and kind of change it from different phases or seasons of life. Like, when you're a new couple, things are going to be different. 2 years, 3 years down the line, you're thinking of marriage maybe, and it'll be different. And once you get married, it'll be different. If you choose to have kids, it'll be different. So it'll keep changing. So of course it's not going to be monotonous or boring, but there are definitely going to be like repetitive patterns and habits that you're going to do every day, unlike the crazy things that these movies show, like these people have every single day, right?
Or the physical abuse.
Yeah.
Then what?
Exactly. So it's definitely a big red flag. I hope it didn't mess up the focus. But anyway, yeah, it's definitely a big red flag. Like, domestic abuse is not okay, and it's not just in Colombia. Like, it's definitely a big part of movies and series here in India as well, because when we think about the Eastern civilization, the Eastern mindset, we think that women don't have a lot of, a say or rights in a relationship. So they're mostly just submissive, doing what the man wants them to do. But it's definitely a big red flag. It's not how relationships are supposed to be. So yeah, like, you can watch these things, you can just laugh, have a laugh or two, but when it comes to real life, relationships are different. It's all about respecting on both sides, from the man to the woman and the woman to the man, or man to man, whichever is your preference. So yeah, it's all about respect, it's all about support, it's all about loving the person, and never about domestic abuse of any of these crazy things. Yeah.
I also find very interesting, since I came here, how in your movies, or I haven't watched TV shows entirely, like telenovela type of shows, but mainly in movies, how they portray arranged marriage, which is a concept we don't have in my country. The way it works here, it doesn't exist.
No.
And that's too crazy. But I
Yeah.
think that will be a great example for our next video, talking about Tamil movies.
Yes, absolutely. So like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts under this video, and keep an eye out for our next video. As Luisa was saying, we are going to take a Tamil movie and see what kind of stereotypes or romantic cues that I and other Indians would have learned from it, watching it from childhood. So yeah, see you next time.
Bye. Nandri, Vanakkam.
Yo me hace sentir mujer.